The main highlight of SIDSSA 2024 will be the showcasing of progress on South Africa's infrastructure investment plan as adopted by the Cabinet, unveiling of a pipeline of 12 infrastructure priority projects for project preparation and funding for 2024-2025 financial year, launch of South Africa's construction book, and as well as the new partnership and cooperation within the continent and outside the continent. We welcome all delegates to this watershed symposium. South Africa's infrastructure is open for investment.
The Sustainable Infrastructure Development Symposium is underway at the Century City Convention Centre in Cape Town. The conference brings together government ministers, the private sector and experts in infrastructure development to explore partnerships as well as investment opportunities. President Cyril Ramaphosa told delegates that the gathering is an important part of government's efforts to close the infrastructure spending gap in South Africa.
This symposium is an important part of our effort to close the infrastructure spending gap in our country, because one of the challenges that we faced soon after our administration started was the spending gap, the financing gap that existed. And when we initiated this symposia, we were seeking to bring the great minds from government and private sector to participate in finding solutions for, amongst other things, the funding of infrastructure. So if we are able to do that, we will be able to solve a major problem, because it is estimated that to achieve our infrastructure goals, we need almost 4.8 trillion rand to address the challenges that we face as a country. And we need that from both the public sector and from the private sector to a much larger extent. And that is why many of you are here, because the people with the money are here.
All right, and in just a moment, we'll have a conversation that looks at the construction industry, the construction education, as well as the training authority. They're allocating some 600 million rand to be able to address some of the issues of training, particularly for the young people, as well as women who are interested in entering this particular sector. So there's going to be a lot, especially when it comes to the different skills. But what does all this entail, especially when you think about the fact that in some of the instances, people aren't able to start businesses because they do not have the capital injection, but also at the same time do not even have the, they may have the skills, but they don't necessarily have the equipment, they don't have the support, they don't even have access to the markets. So how then does this particular training by this entity then help to address some of those particular issues? Because it is one thing, to certify people, but also it is another to then be able to ensure that the certification does provide some needed relief, especially when it comes to, job creation. So let us have this conversation with the Construction Education and Training Authority CEO, Malusi Shezi, who is joining us live now. Malusi, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I mean, you talk about the empowerment and the money that has now been set aside, but what does this empowerment look like for young people and women?
In the main, our focus for skills development programs and allocations that we make will benefit the young and unemployed of this country. It means that instead of them sitting at home losing hope, they have a renewed hope where they will be skilling themselves, that when opportunities do come through, they will be able and be standing at the door to be able to take up those opportunities, be either jobs or also entrepreneurship or self-employment opportunities.
So when it comes to these employment opportunities, what support are they then given? For example, if someone says that I'm interested in starting my own business, but we all know how sometimes they don't even have the money, they don't even have the equipment. Do you offer that support?
Not in that sense, except that we provide skills. Let's say for somebody who wants to start a plumbing business, we train a person up to a point where they're an artisan, they are certificated, they can be able then to start. And then on the SME support side, there are other agencies like your NYDA that specializes in that. But on our side, when somebody needs to be a training provider, we will be running an enterprise supply development program to assist SMEs and those people who want to be involved in the training business, which is our scope for our CETA.
So is it open to everyone?
It's open to all South Africans of all races and all languages, geography, any province of this country.
And how does, let's say someone is watching tonight, how do they access it?
Somebody watching tonight, CETA has run programs to empower with skills and training. Like for instance, we fund learnership, artisans, development, internships. We also offer bursaries. And then for the bursaries, we run adverts annually where we invite those who need to be supported, who will be studying the disciplines in the engineering, construction, built environment. And then for those who want to be trained on skills, the entities who implement those programs, which is employers, the industry and training providers, will respond to a discretionary grant window that is advertised annually. And for this year, 24-25, we will be issuing the similar adverts at the end of this month. And then the companies and entities and public institutions do respond to such, and they will propose, let's say the advert was for 6,000 learners that needs to be trained across various programs. And then they will say, I'm able, I've got capacity to train 2,000, I've got capacity to train 500, etc. And then they go and recruit the learners that need those opportunities. They also tap to other databases like for Department of Labor for those people who are on the waiting list who meet the minimum requirements for learning programs to be taken on.
So how then would you say that this particular industry, that these, the young people and also the unemployed who are interested, to join, I mean, this construction industry has been heavily impacted, and we've seen reports of the construction mafia as well. This has, of course, tainted this particular industry, and I wonder what is your view on that?
Indeed, any negative factor for the construction sector is not good, like that issue of the construction mafias who disrupt construction side. They have a negative bearing on the skills and training development in this country. Like for instance, as a CETA, all our workplaces are at a construction site. So if we need these learners to gain practical experience and there's a stoppage on the construction side, it got also negative impact in that those learners who would have started, they're not going to complete their training and learning on time. They will need to be extended, and also that means then they take longer than they would have to qualify and to come through and be able to get certificates and look for meaningful employment after the training. At the same time, for the construction industry, it's very negative because for those businesses, they need to make money. If you got overruns because there were stoppages that are avoidable, like this one, where you find those who come with guns and say, it's us today who are taking over this site unless you give us the 30% and we walk away. Which the 30% is prescribed by law, that when you have a particular construction project exceeding a particular amount, you must subcontract 30%. But that's subcontracting those who have the proper skills and doing it lawfully other than taking it up the other way. Also at the same time, we as a CETA were funded from the skills development levies, which comes if the construction activities, they are up, our levies are up, which means we can train more people than we could if there was low construction activities. happening in the country.
All right, let me thank you so much, Malusi, for your time and also just talking to us about these opportunities that you say are available for some of the young people there and the women who are looking to enter this particular sector. That is the Construction, Education and Training Authority CEO, Malusi Shezi.